What's up gang, today I'll be making a trait tier list video for Heir of Althea. Traits are the least game changing in the 3 spinnable options. Most traits will only add some buffs to your gameplay experience and won't alter it too much, but a few traits that are so good that you can't play without them if you don't want to waste a lot of extra time grinding. Well, let's start with the tier list because I don't want to yap too much. First trait will of course be Tierlist, the most Sigma trait, and it will go SSS. It's the most Sigma trait to have. It gives you a buff to having a excuse why you lost a 1-1 fight, but either way it's very cool to run it with your own volition and not just because you got no spins. Poor boy. Next will be Smith. Not much to say about this one, it just buffs your smithing success chance by 10%. It's a worthless trait that should be auto-spinned, and it's going F. Smith should have some extra buffs, or the main stat buffed, but I believe it will be left this way to rot, lol. Alchemist trait is next and is going D. It just cuts the crystal summoning animation speed in half, and this might actually be pretty useful in a scenario you need to escape with a TP crystal or heal. So it's not completely useless, but it's going D because you will not be doing any damage with it and it's just a escaping pool. Resilient is going C because Resilient makes your blocking stamina bar doubled. And now that the game has a reward blocking and parrying system, this might be more useful, but how Jay said, you just become a better punching bag. But for the name Resilient, it should have a better buff than just doubling your stamina bar. It should have a damage reduction or something. Game Addict is next and it's going B. It was as before but it got nerfed. Game Addict used to give a XP buff of 50%, but it was nerfed only to 20%, so the XP buff is way less noticeable and useless for max level players. They should have not nerfed because it was a fairly loved trait by the community, and now it's way worse and it's not worth running it for anyone. Next is Blade Master and it's going S tier. It's a very good trait for getting that weapon mastery, and not only that, it also has a 20% damage buff to weapons, so it's an amazing trait. Some trivia for the trait is that it did have X2 mastery gain before, but it was nerfed because there was a bug in calculations, and that's why such a silly number to give buff was chosen, but the mastery gain with this trait is really noticeable. Next is Elven Blood and it's going B tier. It's a very good trait if you got low amount of mana or a magic that drains a lot, but there are still better traits than this. If you really need mana, then this is the perfect choice. There used to be a funny combo in the old EOE. It was Evolved Elf, Elven Blood and Lemise. Then you had to use Mana Skin and you became way more tanky. It was such a funny thing to do. Bloodthirsty is going to the bottom of S tier because the main mechanic of it is that it boosts bleed potency at a high rate, and right now bleed potency is the best status effect for damage, and bleed is able to damage bosses where burn and poison isn't. The other mechanic of Bloodthirsty is that it buffs the ability of vampire race to lifesteal, so it's a pretty good trait for the bleed meta. Keen Instincts are going S tier just because it's such a good transportation trait. I cannot play the game without it. I like being very fast in game and this lets me feel like Flash once I put on the other speed buffing items and cast the speed buffing spells. Oh bruh, I didn't tell what it actually does. Well, it doubles dodge distance and tell me that isn't overpowered as hell. The last trait is Furry. It's a good trait and it's going to be. It just overall boosts your damage by 10%. Everything is boosted, but because it's just 10% it's going to be. It does what it's supposed to and that's it.